ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ 29 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਅਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਦੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਖੇਪ ਬਰਾਮਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਦੇ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਕੱਠਿਆਂ ਜੋ ਨਸ਼ਾ ਬਰਾਮਦ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਇਹ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਖੇਪ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਮੰਨੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ 199 ਕਿਲੋ ਕੋਕੇਨ ਤੇ 97 ਕਿਲੋ ਮੈਥਨਫੈਟਾਮਾਈਨ ਬਰਾਮਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਦੀ ਬਾਜ਼ਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀਮਤ 28 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈ।
These members worked quickly and decisively on the investigation we're speaking about today. On display in front of me is the result of the largest single-day seizure of illicit drugs in the history of the Toronto Police Service. While we have made large seizures before, these have occurred over several months. The drugs before me were taken from one person in one day. Anytime we are able to intercept the flow of illicit drugs, we are saving lives. But the significance of a seizure of this size cannot be understated. Not only have we prevented possible overdoses, but as we have said before, violence in our city is often driven by three factors, and those are guns, gangs, and drugs. And when these factors collide, the results are often tragic. The Toronto Police Service will continue to dedicate the resources necessary to these crimes, and I want to personally thank all of our members who are participated in this investigation and all of our drug investigations on a regular basis. I will now ask Inspector Mann to discuss the case in more detail.
Thank you, Staff Superintendent Pogue, and good morning. I'd like to begin by saying that the investigation that we're going to be speaking to represents the largest one-day drug seizure in the history of the Toronto Police Service. What you're seeing in front of you is 189 kilograms of powder cocaine and 97 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine. And I want to add that none of this seizure, this investigation would not be possible without the extreme dedication of the members of the drug squad. They do difficult work. They do hard work under difficult circumstances behind the scenes. So I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank them for what they do each and every day. Now, for the investigation itself. It was these drug squad members that commenced a drug trafficking investigation in the area of Yonge Street and the Esplanade. On April 2nd of this year, they arrested 29-year-old Devontae Moores. At the time of his arrest, he was found to be in possession of 50 kilograms of powder cocaine. That arrest occurred in the underground parking lot at 25 the Esplanade. Through further investigation, the officers were able to identify a unit that was associated to Mr. Moores. The investigators obtained a judicial authorization to search that unit, his vehicle, and his residence. Now, in that unit, what we believe to be a stash house, they located an additional 139 kilograms of powder cocaine and 97 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine. We believe that that stash house was used to house these drugs and then distribute to our local neighborhoods and our surrounding communities. We also believe that what you're seeing here in front of you has a total street estimate of more than $28.5 million. Mr. Devontae Moore is facing 2 counts of possession of cocaine for the purpose of trafficking and 1 count of possession of crystal methamphetamine for the purpose of trafficking. I can also tell you that in his residence we seized an additional $50,000. Also in his vehicle, when we executed that search warrant, we located a professionally built trap, more than likely used to transport large amounts of drugs and very likely firearms. So one of the reasons why we're here today is to ask for the public's appeal. We're asking for your assistance to help us identify anyone who may be involved with Mr. Moore in that drug network, and we're asking if you can contact the drug squad directly at 416-808-6100, or if you choose to remain anonymous, you can contact Crime Stoppers at 416-222-TIPS. I'd like to echo Staff Superintendent Pogue's comments and appreciation, and just want to let the public know that our streets in Toronto are safer because of this large seizure and because of the arrest and because of the work of our drug squad members. Thank you, and we'll now take any questions you may have.
We will begin with questions first from WebEx and then move to those on the floor. When you are called on, please unmute your mic at this time only. From the floor, please move to the mic on the right side. Please indicate who your question's for. Staff Superintendent Lauren Pogue, Superintendent Steve Watts, Inspector Mandeep Mann. You can ask one question and one follow-up. Once you've asked your question, you will be muted again. Thank you. We will begin with Ryan Jones, CBC. Go ahead with your one question and your one follow-up.
Thank you. Do you have any idea where the suspect, what the source of these drugs were, and can you give me a bit more information about this trap you found in the vehicle?
The source, again, that's the reason why we're appealing to the community, is to give us some help to identify this network that Mr. Moore was working with. We don't believe he was working alone, but at this point, we don't have any evidence to implicate anyone else. In regards to the trap, again, it's not uncommon that we find traps these days professionally built in many vehicles, those that are involved in drug trafficking and firearms trafficking. And the purpose of those traps is to essentially hide their commodity, whether that's drugs and guns. So.
Thank you. Do you have another question?
That's good, thanks.
Perfect. Next, we have Steve Ryan from CBC. Or sorry, CP24.
Close. Inspector, for you. Extraordinary seizure, so congratulations to you and your officers.
Thank you.
Knowing all of the long hours and the dangerous situations that your officer are put in quite often running a project like this or making an arrest like this, how does something as extraordinary as this affect the morale of your officers?
Thank you for that question, Steve. This, no doubt, has an extraordinary effect on the morale of our officers. Like I mentioned, our drug squad officers and many of our plainclothes officers throughout our service work in very difficult circumstances. They work behind the scenes. When they're able to see something tangible like this, they see that they're actually they're having a direct impact on the safety of our communities. It has, it definitely has a positive effect on the morale. And you know, we get to see every day the great work that they do, but it's not every day that we get this opportunity to highlight it. So really want to thank all of those members. That it's because of their hard work that we're able to be here today and highlight this. So thank you.
Thanks for that. And as far as the community goes, what type of message does this send to the community, and what type of effects does it have on the community when they see your officers out there, you know, seizing this quantity of narcotics?
Yeah, the reality is that you know, many members of our community are aware that there are drugs on our streets. It doesn't come as a surprise to them. But at the same time, they should feel assured that we, the Toronto Police Service, are out there actively enforcing and chasing down all members of organized crime and anyone involved in the illicit drug trade.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Our next question will be from Scott Laurie from the Toronto Sun.
Thanks for the opportunity to take a question. This is a lot of drugs, a lot of bags. How big do you think the network is that might have been supporting this suspect?
It's always difficult to say. What we can say, what we've seen in past investigations is it's uncommon generally to have such a young individual be entrusted with such large amounts of drugs. That's worth millions of dollars.
About the vehicle that had the trap, what kind of vehicle was this? How do you describe it?
It's a normal sedan vehicle. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference from the outside. And we're coming across more and more professionally built traps in vehicles.